Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is about contempt of court. What is this contempt of court? What is the law behind it? What is the constitutional angle? What have been the previous precedents of the Supreme Court has been explained on 27 July 2020. Under the first topic, scandalizing as contempt. The link for the same will also be provided in our description box. What is the focus of today's discussion? That is in specific reference to the judgment passed by the Supreme Court in reference to the Prashant Bhushan case. What are we going to discuss? We will understand the background, what are the arguments given by the Supreme Court, and what is the way forward with respect to the contempt proceedings. Let's understand the background with respect to this issue. Prashant Bhushan happens to be one of the leading advocates and an activist. He had recently tweeted, one in reference to the Supreme Court, the other was in specific reference to the Chief Justice of India. With relevance to the Supreme Court of India, he had said that Supreme Court has played its major role in the destruction of democracy in the last 6 years, and at the same time, with respect to the Chief Justice of India, he had said that the Chief Justice of India has put the Supreme Court in the lockdown mode, denying the citizens their fundamental rights to access justice. Looking into these two tweets made by Prashant Bhushan, the Supreme Court took the suo motu cognizance of these two tweets. Why? Because this was directly speaking about the judiciary, and that happens to be about the apex court, the Supreme Court of India. Looking into these two tweets, the Supreme Court has now delivered its judgment. The Supreme Court has now convicted Prashant Bhushan for criminal contempt for criticizing the Chief Justice and the court, as it amounted to the serious contempt of court. The bench said that the tweet was not against the CGI in his individual capacity, but it was as the head of the Supreme Court of India. Now let's understand what is this individual capacity, or when the Chief Justice of India is representing the body of judiciary. When it comes to the individual capacity, as we can see in the tweet, he is speaking about the Chief Justice of India not wearing the mask or the helmet. That is in specific reference to the individual capacity. So what the Supreme Court has said, in case there is any person who is speaking about the Chief Justice of India or any judge of the judiciary in the individual capacity which has no direct relevance to the Supreme Court or its mandate or administration of justice, then that will not be considered as the contempt of the proceedings. But at the same time, if the Chief Justice of India or the judge is acting as a judge and not as an individual, and you go on to vilify him, you go on to abuse him, and you go on to criticize him, this means you're directly linking that particular person not at the individual level but directly to the judiciary. So when the Chief Justice of India is linked to the Supreme Court in the lockdown, that means Prashant Bhushan went about criticizing the judiciary, and as a result, we, the Supreme Court of India, have come to a judgment that this is not the individual capacity but that is against the judiciary, so contempt proceedings has to be taken. However, what we also have to consider is that when it comes to the scandalizing the court, it means there is any hostile criticism of the judge as the judge, but in case there is any personal attack on the individual level, this can also be taken as libel or as a slander, is what the Supreme Court said. The court further went on to say that every person would have a right to criticize the Supreme Court, and that is also guaranteed under Article 19, which is about freedom of expression. But this should be in the interest of the general public. If it is not in the interest of the general public, but it is to malign the judiciary would not remain a silent spectator. When the authority of court is itself in question, it is being attacked repeatedly. That is when the Supreme Court immediately steps in, and that is when the contempt of proceedings will be initiated. So on one side, it brings into an aspect of individual level and also as a judge. On the other angle, it also speaks about the right to freedom of expression, which is directly linked to public interest. In case it is not meeting the criteria, contempt proceedings will also be initiated. Therefore, giving this particular judgment, the Supreme Court went on to say that the tweet made by Prashant Bhushan tends to shake the public confidence in the institution of judiciary. What we have to focus is on various concerns arising because of this judgment made by the Supreme Court of India. When you go back and turn the history pages, what we realize is that there were four senior most judges who came out into the public forum. They held a press conference and they said that the credibility of the highest judiciary is at stake. They also asserted that democracy would not survive as an independent judiciary, which is the hallmark of successful democracy. When you go back to that particular press conference, the senior most judges of the Supreme Court made a similar statement. But why is that the Supreme Court of India did not take cognizance with respect to the senior most judges, but now in the present scenario, it has taken cognizance of the tweet on a suo motu basis with reference to the Prashant Bhushan case is the first major concern that we have to look at. The second major concern is the bench had held that fair criticism of the judges or the judge is fair enough. In case you find something as a loophole or there is a matter which has to be dealt deeply, then you can also have a fair criticism in the case of public interest, in the name of public interest. But now the question is, what is this public interest? This you have not mentioned. So this is an ultimately a confusion, a dilemma which is left to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court is acting as a prosecutor, the Supreme Court is acting as a victim. So most of the judgments will go in favor of the Supreme Court, and this is also violating the principles of natural justice is the second major concern. Now we have to go back to the year 1988 to understand another landmark judgment given by the Supreme Court of India. This was about a criticism made by the cabinet minister who was in the government of India. A cabinet minister of the government of India had compared the judges of the Supreme Court to anti-social elements, foreign exchange violators, bright burners, and a whole horde of reactionaries who have a safe haven in Supreme Court. This is something a major criticism according to normal parlance, but the Supreme Court did not look at it in a reactionary sense. The Supreme Court looked into it and it went on to say the speech of the minister has to be read in proper perspective. When so read, it did not bring the administration of justice into disrepute. So it went on to say the Supreme Court held that the criticism of the court that does not impair and hamper the administration of justice cannot be punished as contempt. In the present scenario, how did it hamper the administration of justice is what we have to look at with respect to the Prashant Bhushan case. Looking at all these arguments, that we feel that the Supreme Court of India as an institution is not tolerant to criticism is some of the arguments put forward by this particular editorial. How have other democracies dealt with similar instances of contempt? Let's go back to UK as well as America. When it comes to the United Kingdom, there was one of the judgment called as the Spycatcher judgment by the House of the Lords. The Daily Mirror, which happens to be one of the newspaper, had published an upside down image of all the judges and captioned them as "you fools." And one of the judges, that is Lord Templeman, refused to initiate contempt proceedings against the Daily Mirror. Why? Because he personally felt that this was not a case for contempt. Why? Because they had told him fool, but he says fool is their perspective, but according to him, he is not a fool. And at the same time, he also calls himself that he is old, so this particular case need not be initiated with the contempt of proceedings. So the British judges have not taken seriously when there has been a personal criticism, but in the present scenario, what we see is that personal criticism was taken to the next level and contempt of proceedings was initiated. And when we go back to US Supreme Court Judge Hugo Black, in one of the judgments of Bridges in 1941, went about saying that judiciary cannot be shielded. In case they have to be shielded and you expect respect from the people, that cannot happen. What it will create is suspicion, what it will create is resent and contempt from the people. So the judiciary should not be shielded from the contempt of act is what was said by Judge Hugo Black in the year 1941. So what is the way forward? How should the judiciary in India reform itself? Even as the court's power of contempt flows from Article 129 of the Constitution, it needs to be reconciled with the constitutional values of free and fair criticism. So under Article 19, we also have the freedom to speak as well. This is curtailed by the Supreme Court, and in the near future they have to take fair criticism like United Kingdom as well as the United States of America is what we have to understand from this article. It is this that we have to understand with reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says US FDA not for rapid inexpensive saliva test. What is the context? The United States of America's Food and Drug Administration has authorized the emergency use of an inexpensive testing kit, and that is what is called as Saliva Direct. Before we understand what this Saliva Direct, we have to understand what are the present techniques that which are prevalent for testing of COVID-19 patients. Currently, when you look into this, we have two type of tests. One is the swab test, which is inserted into the nasal cavity. The other is inserted into the throat. What we have for the testing of COVID-19 patients is inserting this particular swab into the nasal cavity or into the throat or a combination of both for about 15 seconds. So once they are inserted, they are rotated several times and then it is taken out and then it is analyzed with all the reagents to identify whether there is the virus or not. This is the present testing mechanism that we have when it comes to the present scenario. But what is the update that we have? According to the update, we have a new testing tool called as Saliva Direct. What is this Saliva Direct? This does not require swab or the collection device and uses the spit of the people who are suspected of having the coronavirus. So the swab test will not be required according to the Saliva Direct. So the patient will be asked to spit and the saliva will be tested for the virus. So what is the significance? It could be a game changer. Why? Because this is affordable and it is costing not that much when compared to the swab test, and at the same time it could also be a game changer in the diagnosis of the infection as it will enable rapid testing as well. It would also increase the efficiency and avoid some of the shortages when it comes to the reagents, which is currently more in comparison to the Saliva Direct test. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about National Cadet Corps. What is the context? Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his Independence Day speech spoke about expanding the National Cadet Corps where in the coastal districts as well as in the border districts, and the Defence Ministry has now given consent to this expansion plan. Before we understand what is this, we have to have a basic idea about the National Cadet Corps. It was formed in the year 1948. National Cadet Corps headquarters is situated at Delhi. Its motto is unity and discipline. The NCC is headed by a Director General with the rank of the Lieutenant General. The NCC is open to all the schools and colleges only on a voluntary basis. So only if the student wants, he can join the NCC, and this is not a compulsory move. It enrolls the candidates at the high school and also at the college level and also provides certificates after they pass out of certain training modules as well as various phases. The NCC cadets receive some of the basic military training and they are also provided academic curriculum basics related to the armed forces as well as their functioning. Various training camps, adventure facilities, military training camps are an important factor of the NCC training, and at the same time when they are part of this NCC they are also ingrained with multiple value system. What does it include? It includes a secular outlook teaching, a spirit of adventure and the idea of selfless service for the people of India. So this inculcates the leadership for that particular person and he would be able to enjoy the true values of patriotism. The NCC cadets have also played an important role when it comes to the emergency situations. Let me give you some of the examples. When the pandemic of COVID-19 was struck to India, there were about 60,000 cadet corps who were employed with various state governments as well as with the district officials so that they could provide relief work in the states as well as in the districts. And at the same time, about 1.25 lakh cadets have also helped the National Disaster Relief Force, the Armed Forces and the Red Cross in areas of floods like Bihar, Tamil Nadu and Kerala as well. Why are they employed in such emergency situations? That is because they are provided some of the basic military training. A normal person may not be able to do it, but because they are trained, they are employed in some of the emergency situations. Therefore, because they know how to face the emergency situations and they have been exposed to it, the Prime Minister of India feels that their role will also have to be expanded. When you look at the current number, we have about 14 lakh cadet corps, but this will be increased to about 15 lakh. So this 1 lakh will be in those areas which is currently in the coastal districts, or it will also be in the border areas. Now when it comes to the training, the army will provide training and administrative support to the NCC units located in the border areas, navy to the units in the coastal areas, and the Indian Air Force to the units close to the air force stations. So once they are trained, they will be able to help the state governments as well as the district authorities as well. So what they'll do, in case there is any unique challenges that is being faced in that particular region, their training will help them in all the emergency situations. That is why their role has been expanded in the present scenario. The same has also been said by the committee of reports headed by Lieutenant General D.B. Shekatkar. He had also said that restructuring of the NCC was the need of the hour. So what is the significance? The significance is that the trainers will be holding regular training camps, which will also lead to the trained manpower in case of a national emergency or a calamity. And at the same time, these people will have all the motivational training. They will also be the leaders in the field that they opt for, and in the near future we may have number of students who can also serve the country in the armed forces. Why? Because they would be motivated to do so. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Mauritius oil spill. There is one of the ships called as MV Wakashio. This is owned by Nagasaki Shipping. It was carrying oil which is about 4,000 tons. This particular ship recently went and rammed into a coral reef and ultimately causing the oil spill in the Indian Ocean. More than 1,000 tons of oil was leaked into this particular region in the environmentally protected marine ecosystem regions and also near the Blue Bay Marine Park Reserve. Kindly remember, this Blue Bay Marine Park Reserve is one of the important wetlands of national importance. This can be a very important factor for your preliminary examination. What we have to focus is on impact because of this oil spill. Mauritius is one of the biodiversity hotspot. It has a high concentration of plants and animals unique to this particular region. So what would be the loss at the marine level and what would be the loss on the economy is what we have to focus on. When it comes to the marine life, what we have is the coral reef. The coral reefs are also called as the rainforests of the sea. Why is it called so? That is because of the diversity that which is present in and around this particular coral reef, and at the same time they would also protect the coastlines from the storms and erosion. With the oil spill, what we will also see is coral bleaching and ultimately harming the coral reef. Coral reefs and the marine ecosystem are the major pillars when it comes to the Mauritius tourism. Now with coral reefs destroyed, what we will see is drop in the number of people visiting this particular region, and at the same time around 25% of the fish in the ocean depend on the healthy coral reefs. So what would be the impact? One, the tourism is one of the major areas of the economy that will see a drop, and at the same time fishing is also another major area of the economy, even that will see a drop as well. So the economy as a whole will also see some depreciation when it comes to its activities. The tourism and fishing, which happens to be the mainstay in the economy, are bound to suffer because of this impact. Now when it comes to the seagrasses which are present in the shallow waters and the mangrove trees, they are also impacted because of this oil spill, and there are number of other migratory birds which come to the Mauritius, and now they are also vulnerable because of this oil spill. These are some of the issues because of the oil spill. But how should we clean it? What are the various mechanisms to clean them? There are three important processes, tools and technique. The first one is what is called as skimming. So what is skimming? This will basically involve removing the oil from the sea surface before it reaches some of the sensitive areas. So whenever there is a water area where the oil spill occurs, immediately removing them is what is called as skimming. Then what we have is is called as the in situ burning. Basically, burning a particular patch of oil after it has concentrated in a particular area. Let's say it is only this part that currently has the oil. So burning of this particular area before it spreads to the other areas is what is called as in situ burning. The third is what is called as releasing chemical dispersants, where the chemicals are added into this oil spilled area, where they are broken down into minute components, and these are ultimately consumed by the microbes. To help Mauritius overcome this issue, India has also sent Mauritius specialized equipment consisting of ocean booms, river booms, disc skimmers, heli skimmers, power packs, blowers, salvage barge, oil absorbent graphene pads, and other accessories specifically designed to contain the oil slick, skim oil from the water, and also assist in cleanup. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into some of the preliminary practice questions. Curzon Willie was assassinated by, is it Veer Savarkar, Madan Lal Dhingra, Shahid Udham Singh, or Shyamji Krishna Varma? The answer to this is Madan Lal Dhingra. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. Kindly remember, Madan Lal Dhingra, he was an Indian revolutionary independence activist. He was associated with the Indian Home Rule Society. While studying in England, he assassinated Curzon Willie. Dhingra was hanged on 17th August 1909. We also need to have an update with respect to Indian Home Rule Society. Why? Because Madan Lal Dhingra was part of this Home Rule Society. It was an Indian organization founded in London in 1905 that sought to promote the cause of self-rule in British India. The organization was founded by Shyamji Krishna Varma, and when it comes to the Curzon Willie, he was an advisor to the Secretary of State for India. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to the National Crime Tribunal, which of the following statements is or correct? The tribunal is bound by the procedure laid down under the Code of Civil Procedure 1908. It cannot provide relief and compensation for damages. The decision of the tribunal is final and cannot be challenged. Which of them are correct? The answer to this is none. Why? Let's look into the explanation. The tribunal is not actually bound by the procedure laid down under the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, but shall be guided by the principles of natural justice. Relief and compensation for the damages can be paid by the NGT, and at the same time, the tribunal has powers to review its own decisions. If this fails, the decision can be challenged before the Supreme Court of India within 19 days. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements about Aravalli range is or correct? It is the oldest range of fold mountains in India. It extends from Himachal Pradesh in the north to Gujarat in the south. Which of the statements are correct? It is asking for the correct statement, so the answer to this is one only. Why? This does not extend from Himachal Pradesh. Instead, it starts from Delhi, passes through southern Haryana and Rajasthan, and ends in Gujarat. The highest peak is Guru Shikha. It is the oldest range of fold mountains in India. The Aravalli range joins two of the ancient earth's crust segments that make up the Greater Indian Crater, the Aravalli Crater as well as the Bundelkhand Crater. Three major rivers and their tributaries flow from the Aravalli, that is Banas, Sahibi and Luni. Where is this particular Aravalli? It is in this part of the region. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements with reference to Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological Park. It is a high altitude park in eastern Ladakh region. It is largest high altitude zoo in India. It is recognized for its conservation breeding programs of red panda, snow leopards and Tibetan wolf. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is 2 and 3 only. Why? It is not in Ladakh, but instead it is in Darjeeling in West Bengal, and Darjeeling is also called as the Queen of the Hills. The zoological park falls under the category of small zoos as per the Central Zoos Authority, but it is the largest high altitude zoo in India. The park is named after Padmaja Naidu, who happens to be the daughter of Sarojini Naidu. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. Now Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements. New Development Bank has been set up by APEC. The headquarters of New Development Bank is in Shanghai. Which of the statements given above is correct? The answer to this is 2 only. Why? The New Development Bank was not set up by APEC, but instead it is BRICS. So the answer to this is 2 only. Now let's look into the mains practice question. The time has come to perform a balancing act of fair criticism on one hand and protection of administration of justice on the other hand in reference to contempt proceedings. Examine. Discuss the damages caused by oil spill on the marine life and economy. Explain the tools and techniques that are employed to remove the oil spill. So please write all your answers on the comment section and peer review, come up with constructive criticism. This is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.